So Dr. Gopi, I will first start, then you can. Okay.
I didn't get you.
I will first start the session, then you can.
Yes.
Hi, Dr. Gopi.
Hi.
Hello, Dr. Nusrat. We were waiting for you.
Just about the presentation, PPT, should I be sharing the presentation? Or
Anyway, it is fine. So if you would like to share, you can share. Otherwise, you can just email me the latest version. If you had done any last minute changes, I can go.
Should be fine by my side. The only concern is the video. Will it play? I don't know how it will show. No, it's in the PPT already. And just to know, Dr. Gopi, we have many, this session you have many other, okay.
So we have 4 sessions, so you will be going third in line.
At 11:45, is that right?
Maybe a bit later, around 12 o'clock.
12.
10, yeah.
So shall we start now? Because it's 11:31.
Yes, Rizwan.
So hi and good morning to all of you, and a very warm welcome for day 2 of Regional Forum. I'm Rizwan Masroor, working as a manager finance in IPPF South Asia Regional Office. Also, I'm host of the today's sessions on new solution to the same challenges. This session is 1 hour and 30 minutes, which includes presentation from our 4 MAs and question answer session. Now let me have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Murli Gopi Reddy. He is the moderator of our sessions today. He is currently working as Senior Technical Advisor for IPPS South Asia Regional Office. After his MBBS, he did MD in Community Medicine from prestigious PGI Chandigarh, India. He pursued his master's in epidemiology from University of London and family medicine from Christian Medical College, Vellore. Currently, he is coordinating the data management system strengthening initiatives across SAARC, South Asia regional MAs. He is also working on multiple restricted projects across the South Asia region. Now handing over the sessions to Dr. Gopi.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rizwan, for the kind words. So like the session is all about new solutions to the old problems. So the new innovative solutions. We will have 4 sessions in sequence today. So the first session will be from team FPAB. I would be introducing the speaker later on. So it is about using digital solutions to deliver a comprehensive sexuality education for in-school and out-of-school adolescents. Followed by a session from Family Planning Association of India, where they will be talking about a youth welfare fund. Then FPA Sri Lanka team would present about Happy Life, a digital solution for delivering relevant SRHR information to the young population. And in the end, we will have a very exciting project presentation from team Afghanistan. So at the end of each session, we will have a brief question answer session and then followed by the subsequent sessions. And in the end, we can have a master round of question and answer session. So we will close exactly at 12:50. That is kind of just 10 minutes before the kind of the session ending time to allow for next session preparations. So without wasting much time, I would invite Ms. Mahmouda Nasreen from Team FPAB. She is the youth officer at FPAB headquarters. She has more than 10 years of experience in the development sector, both in national and international organizations. So she has a wide range of skill set in the entire spectrum of project design, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation. So she takes particular interest in capacity building of various levels of service providers. She likes to conduct workshops and then engage in a lot of skill transfer and capacity building sessions. Our particular areas of interest are preventing child marriage and adolescent pregnancy, and also sexual and gender-based violence. So over to you, Dr. Nasreen, for your presentation on digital solutions to deliver CSC. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gopiji, and a very welcome to everyone. Very nice to meet all of you. So may I have the permission to share my screen?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Can you see my screen, Gopiji?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So again, welcome everyone. Now I feel a little bit scared. So today my topic is incorporating digital platform in providing CSC at school and out of school adolescents. So basically I would like to talk about the digital intervention of FPAB. Maybe it can be regarding CSC education, information, and other services. So I would like to start. First of all, I would like to share the country context of Bangladesh regarding SRHR. So I know SRHR, I know you all know that SRHR information and service provision is not very much easier to all the countries. In Bangladesh, it has a very much socio-economic constraints. SRHR education and services is considered as a taboo in Bangladesh because teachers are not willing to provide the education in schools, although they have few topics related to SRHR in their school curriculum that called NCTB, National Curriculum and Textbook, but they are not willing to provide the education in schools. Parents are not willing and don't feel comfortable to provide the education to their own children. Another stakeholder, say for example, community stakeholder or other people, they feel shy and they can't do they can't know the approach how to deliver the SRH information and education to young people. So young people get alone with this information. They are trying to discover the issues along with the help of computer, or they can find the information through different canvassers, local canvassers, and they have collected the information to some extent wrong information and became again along with the information. So these are the cultural context of SRH education or services in Bangladesh. I'd like to move on my next slide. CSC intervention of FPAB. Before moving forward to our digital intervention, we would like to know the we must know the FPAB CSC intervention, through how channels and through how panels it can be delivered. So I am sharing with you all that FPAB is always trying to strengthen its commitment to reach SRHR information or CSC information and education to young people who belongs 10 to 24 years old. FPAB is providing full, partial, and single CSC session in community. I expect that all of us are informed about those sessions. If we can complete full CSC session, full 7 component, it can be full called that full session. If we complete partial portion from CSC component, it is partial. And if we covered all the component in a single day, it can be called CSC session. CSC single session. So we are providing all three in different contexts. We are providing comprehensive sexuality education along with youth-friendly services and trying to settle down an enabling environment for young people who belong to 10 to 24 years old, so that they can easily avail the access and access of information and education in community and schools. To reach young people from schools, FPAB initiated a sustainable teachers training from very long. FPAB select young, energetic teachers from each selected schools who are basically involved with health education and home economic education, which incorporated concept of SRHR in those books. We have selected those teachers and providing them series of trainings, say for example, CSC training, psychosocial counseling training, or gender-based violence training, so that they can be prepared as a young pool trainer and provide CSC session with very comfortably in our school premises. Again, with a view to provide CSC education to out of school young people who are basically dropout young people, or the people who don't belong from those school which has been selected by FPAB. Okay, so to reach those peoples, FPAB developed young people's pool of young peoples who are basically working as a peer educator in community to reach the dropout and other young people. FPAB established youth-friendly corner or youth-friendly centers, which called Tarar Mela. Tarar Mela means gathering of stars. In each FPAB clinic, there are one Tarar Mela. This is basically an youth-friendly service centers, which has been includes different materials along with SRHR provisions, which can be include different computers so that they can learning computer and other life skill phenomena from them. They can learn, talk, share, gather. Singing and dancing competition also has been happened on that platform. So it is a full phases youth complex from where young people get easily engaged and input their full potential throughout that. FPAB established mini youth parliament at each branches, which consists 16 members in each branches. And total from 21 branches, we have 336 young volunteers who are basically non-paid volunteer and are working in their community to reach the unreachable and provide CSC education in community. FPAB National Youth Parliament, FPAB consists National Youth Parliament which consists 42 young people from 21 branches. They are basically perform as a national and international volunteer. They are participated different national and international workshop. In last day, we have seen that a session which has been held from 4:30. And 10 participants from FPAB has been joined on that conference. So again, FPAB's youth volunteers are nationally and internationally represents FPAB's issues related to SRHR and youth-friendly services. So now the changing modality of CSC and incorporating CSC platform. So Dr. Guppi, you may know very well, as you are working very closely with all of us in this COVID-19 situation. So after COVID-19, we are not allowed or permitted to do any physical session in community or schools because schools are remaining closed for an uncertain period, and we are not allowed to do any session or gatherings in the schools. So we are adopting multiple approaches using different online medias and sectors. And we have created different short messages and content to disseminate the information in a short version. And after 2019, from 2020, we are trying to change the program modality. As long as we don't know how long COVID-19 will be continued, so we can't stop our work on that manner. So along with our team discussion, we have trying to change the modality of the program, and we asked to SARO to change the modality and expected that we will conduct session through online. So it was initially very much challenges, and to provide school to reach schools young people, we are selected against those teachers who are basically committed to conduct the session. We have selected them we have trained them. We have organized different coordination meeting to make them aware how to provide CSC education through online. We have purchased Zoom link and provide it to different branches. Some branches have not Zoom link, but we are instructed them to share the Zoom links internally within different branches so that they can also take the sessions. So teachers are trained, coordination meeting has been held, and they have informed and practiced how to conduct session through online. Teachers has different responsibility we have fixed. They will collect the information of all the students, contact their phone number. If they have not phone, they can contact with their parents, place the permissions and take the session along with school session. Some teacher has almost trying to start the session along with the permission or authorization of school management committee through those link, from which link they are started to take a regular session for the students. So sometimes teachers are incorporated those session and trying to provide the CSC education, and it will be highly appreciated. It has been highly appreciated that I will show you the data in last next few minutes. That teachers are now become more comfortable to provide the sessions. We have been conducting session through using Zoom online platform and Google Meet as well. Peer educator, youth counselors and youth parliament members also have responsibility to provide the session. We can see here some photographs of CSC session. So the last photo is CSC booklet, which has been, the session has been conducted through Tararamala youth counselors, and they have create small groups, online groups, say for example, WhatsApp groups. They have created messenger groups, Facebook messenger groups, and they are trying to provide education to community people and to unreachable people. Sometimes it will be very difficult to collect their information, and sometimes we are facing different network problem. Another problem is people, all the young people have not their own phone. So it can be, it has been difficult for us, but still we are trying our level best and reach those people along with CSC education and sessions. So here is some statistical data which I would like to show you. So in from April 2021 to October 2021, we have covered total 85,043 young people, and I would like to say share that we are starting our CSC education program in this year from April, because due to COVID-19 pandemic, it was not possible for us to conduct any physical session. So throughout online session it was started, and total CSC session we have provided 85,043. From that, full CSC has been provided 64,917. Single CSC provided 8,646, and partial CSC has been provided 11,418. And if we see the another chart, we can see that total CSC provided by online, along with 64,917 CSC, full CSC, we are providing 54.7% through online and 45.3% through offline. So online session became more popular, and teachers found it more easier before that. So another information is in 2020 strategic, our 2022 strategic proposal, we are offering CSC session through online, and we will start it with a broad range. Okay, so another CSC intervention in FPAB is CSC drama. We have under Shukhi Jibon USAID funded projects, we have developed a drama that holds all the content of CSC. Say for example, balance, say for example, CSC education, youth-friendly services, STI, RTI management, and other issues which holds all the information of CSC, all 7 components of CSC. This drama has been developed, and hopefully it can be, it has been also sent to you to show it in a partial session. This drama has been developed to disseminate all the stakeholders. This will be disseminated in YouTube, WhatsApp, and Facebook group. This video will be also used as a visualized media to provide CSC education. Sometimes in many community, sometimes in critical community approaches, it is not possible for us to conduct physical session. We can utilize this drama. It is a total 30 minutes drama, and as it holds all the information of CSC, so we can provide CSC education through this drama to some extent in community level, and that will not use only pandemic moment, that can be used in different risk management also. Okay, now I would like to move on the CSC digital module under Unite for Body Rights project. The project is funded by the Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands, and with an alliance effort, we have developed a curriculum named Me and My World. This is a curriculum which has 3 versions, like web versions, mobile app versions, and printing version. So this holds 13 lessons. That means to reach the 7 component of CSC, this curriculum holds 13 lessons. That was provided under UBR centered areas, but still it is a resource to us. Anyone can access the website www.mmw.com and go through the curriculum and can take education and information through this digital module. So now I'd like to move on the digital campaign. We are for being creating mass awareness to the mass community people. We are designed 2 digital campaign in last years. One is based on child marriage, and another is designed based on Girl Child Day. So many more issues has been identified, and young people from Tarar Mela has created the content. They did share the content along with headquarters, and with the support of Tarar Mela young people, we did cover around 1 lakh young people and another stakeholder through our Facebook pages and through our Facebook groups. The name of our group is Family Planning Association of Bangladesh NHQ group, and the name of page is FPAB Tarar Mela Voices. So through this digital platform, we did reach around 1 lakh young people throughout this campaign. So this is a milestone achievement for us to reach the young people through this digital campaign. Again, this I have identified here a few issues which has been complies with this campaign. I don't go through this due to a time shortage. So I would like to show a few pictures here. In the left side, you can see the pictures of digital campaign. Many more pictures has been disseminated in many more pictures or post has been disseminated in Tarar Mela Voice. So you are requested and invited to join with these pages and see all the information. So now, thank you everyone for your patience hearing. I would like to be very happy for any question in the question and answer session. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you very much, Nasreen Appa. It was fantastic to know that close to 60% of your CSC sessions were delivered through digital platform. It's kind of really encouraging sign. So I would request either panelists or any attendees, if you have any question, panelists can directly kind of unmute yourself and ask the question, or attendees can post their question in the chat window. So probably another 5 to 10 minutes, we'll have a question answer session around digital CSC. Okay, so Srinapa, I have a question regarding what were the key challenges encountered while kind of shifting from physical platform to digital delivery of CSC intervention, especially one from the teachers in terms of adaptation to the digital platform and acceptance by the teachers, and also the socio-cultural acceptance of the digital delivery of this intervention by the parents and the families and the kids.
Okay, thank you, Gopiji. Very nice question indeed. So from teachers' part, sometimes we have selected those teachers to whom we are provided different training, right? But sometimes teachers dropout rate has been increased along with COVID-19 and other situations. So we lost the trained teachers. And in few cases, the train we found it difficult to hold the motivation level of teachers. Sometimes they find it critical to provide the session after a long regular session. They take the time for those sessions, so it is a challenge for us. From parents and student parts, students are totally out of work in last 2 years. They have many more interests, they have no challenges, but the challenges is internet connectivity problem. The challenges is parents are not allowed to use their phone to those sessions, as we are not reach all the parents in our community level to make them sensitized. So to some extent, it has been difficult for us to manage the parents to use their mobile phone or using Zoom link. Then their children will join the program. And again, it is a crucial factor which I would like to find out as a critical aspects. That is, we are starting a group, say for example, along with 30 or 50 people, as it is online, so we can provide the link and everyone can be joined along with the instruction of teachers. But sometimes in all the sessions, we can't find all the students. So student dropout from session is a different phenomena, and it will be very difficult for us to hold all the students for all 7 CSC component. So we have also started to conduct a review session, so that teachers ensure all the students will comply along with us, and we can at least go through all the component at least one day, so that they can have the basic knowledge on CSC. So in this manner, we are trying to overcome the situation.
Thank you, Nasreen Appa. A question from Dr. Manisha is that how was the language adaptation done? Were all the modules delivered in the local language? How was that process?
Okay. So we have actually we have a booklet, not module. It is not possible to provide or implement a high volume module in for CSC education, but we have a booklet which includes 8 lessons for 7 CSC components. So this booklet in general language Bangla, but different for different teachers. Say for example, Sylhet or Cox's Bazar or Chittagong, they can provide the session along with their own languages to those communities. So it can be difficult. It cannot be difficult for us. It is very easier method, and the book is written in a very very.
Yeah, we have seen those booklets.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very nominal language, yes.
Yeah. So very minimal text and more.
Exactly.
Yeah. So any other questions from any other participants on digital CSE? So one question before closing, Nasreen Appa, what are the future plans? So since now COVID-19 related restrictions are going to be lifted, I'm sure there must be some relatively positive experience, at least in in some parts with the digital CSE. So what is the vision of FPAB? Are you going to continue or scale up this intervention, or are you going to go back to the kind of traditional version of delivery?
I think I will continue along with 2 approaches, so that we don't forget the approaches. CSC approaches through online is a new intervention for FPAB, and if I would like to say, it is a new intervention to all over the country. Actually, FPAB has been done very successfully, so we don't lose this intervention. We will proceed along with both approaches, and it's my future plan.
Thank you so much, Nasreen Appa. We'll come back in the end and general question answer session if anybody has any questions to ask about this. So we will move on to our next session. So let me take the pleasure of inviting Dr. Manisha Bishe and the team from Family Planning Association of India to present their experience on Youth Venture Fund. So Dr. Manisha Bishe is a qualified health professional in Indian systems of medicine, and she also had a postgraduate diploma in hospital and health management. So her primary areas of interest include sexual and reproductive health education, services and training in the development sector, with special interest in family planning. So she has served in various capacities in Family Planning Association of India, a career spanning more than 2 decades. So she has managed the entire comprehensive set of services delivered by FPI, the clinical services, the outreach services, the training, quality assurance, and also advocacy for key SRHR issues in India. So she presently heads the resource mobilization vertical of FPI India, and she has also contributed to a number of technical papers, publications, and training manuals. So it's real pleasure to have you, Dr. Manisha, and your team. The floor is open to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gopi, for such a kind introduction. And if I may, with your permission, can we also have Akriti on the panel, because this is,
Yes.
I would
Akriti is
request
already
Akriti,
there.
yes, I would request Akriti also to kind of, come online, show up on the camera, please, because this presentation is going to be largely led by her. I'll be doing a little bit of introduction, and then we will take you through jointly. Can you let us know how much time we have for the presentation and
Yeah,
discussion,
we
so that
can
we'll
go up
pace it a
to
little?
10 minutes, Dr. Manisha,
Okay.
with the presentation, and after that, maybe kind of 3 to 5 minutes, we'll have specific
Okay.
questions.
Okay, fine. So I'll just start with a quick introduction and a profuse thank you to the SARO team for inviting us for this panel discussion. It's a very interesting theme that you have selected about new solutions, and it was wonderful to listen to the previous speaker, Dr. Nasreen, about the CSC interventions that we are doing. We echo some of the interventions that they are trying out in India as well, though of course we will be focusing on the EYSPF today. Just wanted to add that we are also working on developing a mobile app based CSE platform, and we are trying to see how we can get our material actually translated on the platform into regional languages. Accessing the modules in the regional languages is some intervention that we are trying to do, which was why I was also wanting to know how they are doing it in Bangladesh, because that is one area that needs some work around, and a lot of material is available in English. And as she rightly said, our trainers are using our regional language modules, which are offline, and using it and then sharing it across. So yes, that is a bridge that we are trying to cross, and happy to see that we are kind of the fraternity, we are all along the same boat. So with that, coming to what we are going to discuss today, we will be talking about Youth Social Venture Fund. So, in case if some of you heard us yesterday, just I'll give you a small recap in case even if you didn't. So, Youth Social Venture Fund is an initiative, it's a business initiative of the IPPF. And the specific reason why this Youth Social Venture Fund has been created, or rather is being created, is to accelerate our work around empowering and enabling youth by using technology. And FPAI had applied to host the fund, and it was a global bid, and we are very happy to know that we won the bid during the inception phase. So from 2019, FPAI has been doing a lot of groundwork to set the fund rolling, and it also fits in very well with our mission statement, which also articulates that our work is going to be powered by innovation and technology. And of course, we work for young people, so it all fits in beautifully well to run the Youth Social Venture Fund. As we speak, we have gone ahead with hosting a global pilot of the fund, in which we have got about 17 MAs that have applied. And this fund is about helping young innovators deliver technology based solutions to family planning and maternal health based problems or focus areas. But that is about the current fund. Now, to reach there, what we did last year was to run a small pilot, or rather a proof of concept, if I can, in India, during which we were able to curate a number of interesting solutions from Indian innovators. And that is what we are going to talk about in the next 5 to 7 minutes, if you let us. And I am now going to request my colleague on the call, Ms. Akruti Parmar. If you can, Akriti, are you here? Can you please unmute yourself and come on camera?
Yes,
So
yes.
yes, hi Akriti. So Akriti is our youth volunteer and she's also our board member representing the youth of FPA India. She is also going to be very closely involved with the Youth Social Venture Fund as a part of the steering committee as we go further. So I will stop here, Akriti. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Uh, can I share my screen, please? Yes. So
Yes,
now,
actually, you can go ahead and
okay,
share the screen.
okay. So now I'm gonna quickly share my screen. So
Do you want me to, Akriti?
no, ma'am. It's almost done.
Okay, okay, fine, fine.
Uh, my screen is visible?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Is mine visible? Hello?
Uh,
Can you?
yes, yes.
Yeah, so can I help you with this?
Okay.
You can give me the cue and I can move the slides as you want me to.
Okay, okay.
Sure.
So yeah, I'll start. So today we're gonna talk, or we're gonna have just a quick peek on the FPI Will Grow Innovation Challenge of FPI India and with IPPF. Ma'am, please move on the next slide.
Yeah.
So during the innovation challenge in India, we want to find out what are the young innovators, who are the young innovators, what are the innovative ideas who applied for the innovation challenge. It was a call to startups and innovators to participate in the innovation challenge. So we asked the innovators to work on 5 solutions which are mentioned here. I just quickly read it out. Technology driven solution for multilingual comprehensive sexual education for young people, affordable, easy to use solution for early diagnosis of pregnancy, eco-friendly, affordable, easy to use solution for dispensing and disposing of sanitary napkins, easy and early non-invasive diagnosis of PCOS among young girls, and the last one is affordable multi-parameter evolution monitoring and management solution. So these are the 5 solutions we asked them to work on. So next we're going to talk about the journey of implementation. That was a short period of about 12 weeks. Ma'am, please move on the next slide. Yes, thank you. It was a short period of about 12 weeks, which started from 21st September and finally on the 5th and 6th December, there was the selection of winners. And there was 76 applications that we received, and 23 were finalized initially. And at final, we were having 15 applications, which was finalized. So next we are going to talk about, ma'am, please move on the next slide, please. The winners of the innovation challenge and the runner-ups of the innovation challenge. So there was one winner and one runner-up in the startup category, and one winner and one runner-up in the individual category. Dr. Manisha, please, it's a humble request to move on the next slide.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck with this slide. Just allow me a minute, please. Yeah, I'm just trying to. I'm
Yeah.
somehow not able to maneuver it. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll just stop sharing for a moment. Yeah, and you can talk. And
Okay, so there was one winner and one runner-up in the startup category, and one winner and one runner-up in the individual category. In the startup category, we were having PadCare Labs in the startup categories for centralized processing unit for smokeless sanitary napkin disposal and recycling. And Stand We Speak in the individual category for Sex EdTech initiative to equip young people with the life skills and empower them to make informed decisions about their sexual health and well-being. And in the runner-ups, yeah, okay. So in the runner-ups, we were having Fast Sense Diagnostic in the startup category for the point of tool to measure hormonal level of detection of PCOS, and Be Health Positive in the individual category for raising awareness among couples on prevention of infertility through the AHMS test. So in the next slide, we have some promising solution from the inception phase. In the Yes, in the EPCO screen, which is easy to access, which is portable and inexpensive, and many more. So at last, we have a short video, a video clip of the innovators. So let's just have a quick peek into it.
Rizwan, is there any way we can route the audio? I think the audio of the clip is not.
Yes, ma'am, it is not audible.
Rizwan, are you there? Can they do something to?
Dr. Manisha?
Hello, 1 second. I think this is the max that it is going. Somehow I can't do it on my screen unless there is a way to do it through some Zoom modality.
So Akriti, if you can just kind of, as the video plays on, if you can just take us through, right, whatever is understanding, I think that would be helpful rather than trying to address the technical glitch. Yeah.
I'll also try to increase the volume on.
Ma'am, let me check on my screen.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So as Akriti is trying to check on her screen, I can just give you a short narrative. So this, as I'll just go back to this one. See, these were the 4 winners from the 15 that we picked up, and what you could just see was Ajinkya talking from Padcare Labs. This was a centralized processing unit for smokeless sanitary napkin disposal and recycling. Now Ajinkya has gone way beyond just developing the solution. His solution is already market ready and at scale. There were a couple of other solutions. Let me just show you those.
Ma'am, my screen is visible.
Yes, Akriti, your screen is visible. You try to play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cannot hear you, Akriti.
Okay.
It's okay, just show it and I can talk about it a little bit.
Okay, okay.
If you can go ahead. Just go ahead. I think we spoke about this.
Akriti, if you can slightly forward it and then
Akriti, we cannot hear
show
anything.
the solution, because it looks to be a 9-minute video. I'm afraid it would be difficult to play the 9-minute video. You can just show us and explain about the relevant sections, it would be useful.
Ma'am, the sound was audible. Dr. Manisha, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm here.
Okay, so do I
Now
need
I can
to?
hear.
Okay, so do I need to share my screen or just we need to stop here?
So Akriti,
Just
my
stop
suggestion
sharing your
is you
screen.
can
Just
stop
stop sharing.
sharing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
stop sharing.
okay.
Okay, I think this is not working out, but maybe Dr. Gopi, we can tell you what the solutions were
Yeah,
about.
exactly. That would be
Yeah,
useful.
Dr. Gopi, we can't hear you. Yeah. So we saw the first one. The second solution was about an early pregnancy detection device, and that was an idea stage solution. So when they presented the solution and when they worked with us, the solution was about looking at pregnancy detection very early as before a woman misses her period. And it was a biotech solution that they were working on, and they were planning to. And this solution was from an agency which had a partner in another country. So they were planning to go into and work with labs and do a further pilot testing of the solution. One of the other interesting solutions was about doing testing for PCOS, and that was a point of care device that they were creating for it was a multi-panel device on a like a rapid test, and they were also willing to, I mean, we were able to find all these, see, the thing is we were able to find all these innovators and startups because we sent out this call, and until then we were also not aware of all of this the work that was already going on. What FPAI was able to do with the help of our incubation partner was to get all of these people together, give them a little bit of direction from a subject matter expertise point of view. So then we had, you may be aware, some of our very senior volunteers and medical advisory panel members like Dr. Nozer Sherrier and Ratnamala ma'am, who's our president, as well as an acclaimed gynecologist in her own right. So they were the ones who mentored these innovators, and they streamlined the solutions a little bit, because sometimes whatever you work out as an idea may not be feasible when you actually try to implement it. On the other part is they were going in one direction. For example, there was one solution where the innovator was trying to work with a hormone called anti-Mullerian hormone, right? So this anti-Mullerian hormone, as some of you may be knowing, is used to detect it is kind of a proxy indicator for an infertility. At the same time, it is also able to give you some sense about some changes in the level of that hormone can give you a sense of PCOS also. So that it was also thus found that some of the solutions they were working on could be repurposed to diagnose other ailments also. And we are looking at all of these innovators who are definitely under 30 years of age, which was interesting. So that was the beauty of Youth Social Venture Fund, and this was just a matter of 12 weeks that we were able to find them out, work with them, select the best ones, and some of them have now continued to work and they are taking their solutions to scale. Uh, with this, we are energized to now take it to the next level by going global, and hopefully, if at all we have a platform like this next year, we may be able to share some insights on what our innovators from other countries have done. So let us see what happens ahead. I think this is all that we had to present. We are open for questions, comments.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr.
Thank you so
Manisha.
much.
Yeah, that was a fantastic
Dr.
journey.
Gopi can't hear you.
Rizwan, can you hear me?
Yes, Dr.
Yes,
Gopi, we
Dr.
can
Gopi,
hear you.
yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So Dr. Manisha, can you hear me now? Might be something. Yeah. So fantastic journey. I think the
Akriti,
idea
if you
of
can hear, if you can respond. I'm not able to hear anything. I don't know what's the problem.
So the idea of Youth Venture Fund itself is kind of a very exciting idea, bringing all these innovations to the forefront and then mentoring them and giving them a direction and then helping them to take it to a meaningful conclusion.
Yes, sorry. I can hear now. There was an issue with the...
Yeah. So I was saying, Dr. Manisha, this is a very exciting idea, creating a youth venture fund and then bringing all these innovations to the forefront and then guiding them in the right path itself seemed to be a very exciting idea. Sometimes these young people, there's a lot of kind of talent and then innovative mindset is hidden. I think this particular kind of venture was a fantastic initiative in this regard. And then kind of screening 76 applications in a matter of 12 weeks and then kind of coordinating this entire activity is a mammoth task in itself. So I leave the forum open for a quick question answer session if anybody has any questions. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so Dr. Manisha, right now we seem to have no questions, but we'll wait for any questions in the general question answer session in the end. We'll move on to the next session.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Akriti.
So without wasting much time, I would like to invite our next speaker from FPA Sri Lanka, Dr. Nusrat Ahmad Nasruddin, who is FPASL's Deputy Medical Director, who had joined FPASL in 2017 and is responsible for the entire SRH service delivery of the organization. She had worked with the Ministry of Health and also various private sector organizations and has been working relentlessly in the field of sexual and reproductive health and family planning for around a decade. So she is a graduate of MBBS from Manipal College of Medical Sciences and also holds a postgraduate diploma in venereology from University of Colombo. So she is going to talk about Happy Life Contact Center, which is a digital solution to deliver SRHR information to the young population. Over to you, Dr. Nusrat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gopi, for that kind introduction. Hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you are.
Greetings from Sri Lanka. I shall start my presentation. I think we have time issues. Shall I share my screen right now?
Yes, Dr. Please go on.
Is it visible? I'll go into, yeah, thank you. So my topic is Happy Life Information Center and Decade in Digital Health Intervention in Sri Lanka. A little bit about the background. Happy Life Contact Center was established by Sri Lanka in 2009 to increase the access to reliable SRH information, especially to the young population in a secure space using all ICT technology. And also the project was capitalized on the high usage of mobile phones, ICT literacy in the country, and also internet usage. And multiple ICT tools were used in this innovation. It was the phone, SMS at that time, interactive voice calls, and also web-based solutions like chat seniors, etc. It's a joint initiative of FPA and with ICTA, that is the Information Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka, along with SARO. It's a trilingual-based information center, so that there's the main 3 languages in Sri Lanka, so it could reach to all communities. So the reasons behind why we FPA thought of this innovation was, one thing was reproductive health. Though we have achieved high level of health indicators, still there was a challenge for young people to reach for these services. Also the social cultural norms, also barriers the discussion of SRH in our country. And also if young people have to meet a consult a medical specialist, there's a cost. So young people are usually not able to afford much. So again, that was a barrier thought to be one of the reasons what Happy Life was thought to be needed. And also at that time, or now even recent, even till now, there is an increased need for these services because of the current employment pattern. There's a lot of internal migration. Young people migrate to internal free trade zones for employment spaces. Also, there's tourism and external migration, where a lot of young people migrate from their home to seek jobs outside. So there is a SRH risky behavior. So information center was but thought it was needed at that time, and also it's still now the same. The project goal was to improve the access to accurate information on reproductive health and professional counseling services. And objectives are to increase access to reliable SRH information in secure environment, and to disseminate information and counseling services through multiple ICT tools for maximum outreach. These are the objectives. A little bit about Happy Life is registered under the intellectual property, so it's a trademark. And also it supports our social marketing program. It supports for after sales support for contraceptives and products information it delivers. Happy Life is also a part of the SRH Institute, which is an income generating arm of the medical unit. So it works together with Alokya Center under this unit of SRH Institute, which is a part of the medical unit. Also, Happy Life is a platform, which is the information center, which we promote during a humanitarian crisis as well. So I have a video. I'm a little afraid with the voice, with the sound, there will be an issue. I'll just play. This is a promotional video, and it explains a lot of how we operate this center in the past. This was launched some time back. I will just try if it is possible. Can you hear the Dr. Gopi? Do you hear?
We can't hear the voice, Dr. Nuzul, but you can just give some sort of background information about
yes,
what is happening in the video. That would
so
be
this is a little bit about how the functions, the main center functions, and how the calls are received, and how we use the IVR model to disseminate information, how they connect with the service provider within the settings. And also the same thing I described, the very secure professional counselors and professional doctors were recruited in 2009 for this activity. Also, we have won 2 awards, that is the National E-Content Award in 2009, and also the winner of Gold Award Website of the Year under the non-profit category 2010. So these are the little promotional videos what were mentioned in this video. Plus, I just want to make a mention of 2 key people, some key people who contributed to this initiative, because it was one other kind platform. It was not there at 2009 anywhere. So this was one late Mr. Wanika Sekara, then executive director, and Dr. Sumitra Tisera, then medical director. They were chief contributors, and the team behind it came up with the concept. Mr. Wanika Sekar came up with this idea of the need of ICT and use of ICT to disseminate SRH information in a secure space. So that little bit was explained in this video. Unfortunately, the video, the voice, I think something wrong with the speakers. So this is a little bit about the statistics I want to just highlight. I just brought only 2 slides since it was only a 10 minutes presentation. You can see this is the projection for last 10 years. So you can see the performance within this last 10 years. There was you can see it was not constant. The service achievement was not constant throughout 10 years. So there had been spikes and lows in the service achievement. In 2014, we have seen a high rise, a spike of service achievement, and after that it has dropped a little bit in 2015, and stayed around, staggered around the same, like around the same performance, like steady performance till 2019. However, in 2020, we can see a significant drop in the service achievement in 2020. So I just want to mention a little bit, because we are analyzing it. This is again an issue which we have come up with. We are analyzing how this happened. So some of the reasons what we could find out was, like, initially at the first COVID-19, when the first case was detected, Sri Lanka went into nationwide lockdown. Then all operations ceased in the stop. Came to a pause in our clinical setting. Even Happy Life call center had to shut. So all operations happened from home, which we could only function with our mobile phones. So only one mobile phone was in operation at that time. Only one service employee was connected with that mobile phone. So she was connected on that phone. And all the calls which came on the fixed line were not much responded. And also, even if general phone number, all the calls what we got was, it was directed to all service providers, all our employees who were attached to the medical unit, because it was a dire need. Then information a lot of calls were coming in. So we all had to share our numbers. So the calls were diverged to many numbers. So we could not capture all the targets what we have achieved from other numbers, because only few would have actually gone to Happy Life, and many would have gone to, there's a possibility it would have diverged to other numbers. And also initially it started with 4 to 5 employee at the Happy Life. Eventually it dropped to, I will be explaining in the other slides how it happened. eventually now we have currently only one employee engaging in the Happy Life call center. That was also one of the things what happened during 2020. And also the other projects which were coming in, emergency COVID-19 emergency sprint response project 1 and 2, where we were promoting counseling services. So our counseling center was getting a prominence out of that, and we were promoting many numbers for to assist for any GBV related SGBV, SRH. So many numbers were in operation at the same time. So there could have been a target dissemination to other numbers as well. Also, we have introduced many numbers. Now, even our service centers, we have service centers operating similar services are provided through those numbers as well. So we are still we are analyzing how it happened, because usually it's with the promotion, there's elevation of a high spike in achievement. Then even without promotion last to 2019 and 2018, where the 2019 was the Easter attack in Sri Lanka, then we didn't have much promotions. Still, we had calls. We received the calls, but unfortunately in 2020, we see this dip. So I'll move on to the next slide. This just to explain what kind of...
Sorry to interrupt. If we can wind up in a minute or two, just to allow sufficient time for the upper team.
Okay, Dr. Gopi. Okay, okay. Then I'll just skip this. This is almost the same. This is a little bit about what I explained, challenges. There was no consistency in funding. Initially, for the infrastructure development, we have funding. Then after that, following 2-3 years, we had funding. Then later on, it depleted for various reasons, because certain projects were funding for employee recruitment and things like that. So again, I explained the divergence of Happy Life calls to additional numbers in operation, and inconsistency in promotional activities. We were not consistent in promotional activities throughout these 10 years. It was dips and ups, and there have been when it comes to promotion. And also we had issues with employee retention issues, because we usually hired to maintain high quality service delivery, hired pre-intern medical officers. So their span with us is around 6 months to 1 year maximum. So every time when there is a swap, when they leave, we had to recruit another one. So there are gaps when we don't have enough employee to support this service. So that has to be considered in our for our sustainability plan. Next is future directives is one of the chat box in a man-machine ecosystem, which is currently in development. This is by the Youth Innovative Program, where they want to plant a chat in our website, Happy Life website, where a man-machine will start a chat, and eventually it will be passed on to a human contact. So this is one of the things what we are in the pipeline. We are in the developing stages, and also linking all available hotline. We have many hotline services. Disseminate the same services. So if we can use Happy Life as a command center, what it was in 2009. There could be an increase in service attainment. Also, it will be more formalized information center for DHI. And promotional activities also through social media, print media, which we had to think about a consistent promotional activity. So I'm coming to the end of my session. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Dr. Nuzhat. It was fantastic actually to know that FPISL had adopted this intervention way back in 2009 when digital interventions were just coming into the market. It can be called as pretty much very early adaptation by FPISL. You need to have real kind of vision and aptitude for these kind of solutions. Really, we appreciate Sri Lankan leadership at that time who had thought of this intervention. And also really thankful for very transparently coming out with the current status and frankly kind of throwing critical light on many issues which probably have resulted in declining trend of services delivered through this platform. That is certainly a kind of a big learning lesson for all of us. We can try to kind of keep those challenges in mind and then plan our own interventions, because I know many MAs are now in the process of setting up or scaling up their own digital health interventions for SRH service delivery, SRH information delivery. So thank you so much, Dr. Nuzhat. If anybody has any questions, we would really appreciate. If you can stop sharing your screen, Dr. Nuzhat, so that we can see the entire panel.
I'm sorry, Dr. Gopi, you want me to share the screen?
No, if you can stop sharing your screen, I think
I
it's,
did that. All right, okay, sorry.
Okay. So any questions from any participants? I think, Dr. Nusrat, we would like to know kind of a bit more about maybe one or two aspects, that is integrating the kind of marketing of the family planning commodities and goods through this particular platform, right? So how was that experience, and any key lessons we can take it from there?
Yes, the social marketing program is in line with their promotion. They usually use the Happy Life number in all product leaflets. So in case of any product inquiries, they can connect to us. So this was also, I believe, previously when they came up with the idea of Happy Life, our social marketing program as well has given it a better innovative, because we had the products going on in line with other services. So there was a lot of ideas coming in flow. So how they could connect these two. Even in the medical committee, the TAC committee also, they constantly discuss how we can connect these two elements, because our social marketing program is attached to contraceptive. We do contraceptives. Again, it's an SRH element. So this is how it was conceptualized right from the beginning. A social marketing program is a profit-making program where they can support our promotional activities, whereas Happy Life is a non-profit. It is disseminated at a free of cost. So it was going in well, and still it continues to carry a Happy Life name in all the product and training programs, also all the advertisements. So it is both way. We are benefiting both ways. So this was the concept which was taken in from the beginning.
Thank you very much. I think this is a key lesson for other MAs who are planning to implement integrating a kind of a profitable social marketing activity into the SRHR information delivery. Can be a kind of, like you said, it is a kind of a two-pronged solution. On one hand, you are delivering information free of cost. At the same time, you are building a sort of sustainability component into it by making some profits through social enterprise program. So thank you so much, Dr. Nusrat. So many lessons to kind of take home from this initiative.
Thank you, Dr. Gopi. Thank you so much.
We'll come back in the end. So without wasting much time, I would request Dr. Ajmal Alkujai, who is a program manager with Afghan Family Guidance Association, to present about a very exciting restricted project which is going on with the support from Japan government. So Dr. Muhammad Ajmal Alkujai, he works as a program manager with AFGA. Currently, he has worked with various international and national organizations, including MRCARI, Independent Administrative Reform, Civil Service Commission, European Union, etc. So he is also worked with International Committee of Red Cross, Aid Medical International, and ACF. He holds master degree in public health from National Jodhpur University, Rajasthan, India, and he has excellent understanding and intricate knowledge of Afghan healthcare system at national, provincial, and district levels. Pleasure introducing you to the participants. Dr. Ajmal, the floor is open for you.
Thank you, Dr. Gopi. Thanks from all the colleagues. Salam and greeting to everyone. I would like to present the GSF project, which is implemented by AFGA in Afghanistan. The project is designed with the support, the technical support of IPPF, and especially SARO. Dr. Gopi also had a big hand in that. And also we are thankful from government of Japan for supporting and funding this project financially. So I would like to share my screen with colleagues just to present the project.
Yeah, we can see your screen, Dr. Ajmal. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gopi. I would start with the background of the country. You know, unfortunately, we had a long conflict in the country. Since 44 years, the conflict is going on. This conflict caused the brain drain of health and expert staff from the country, which caused brought a big gap in service provision, especially in health area. Due to this long conflict, also for time being, we have the highest mortality in the world. Even like if we say in Asia it is, but even in the world it's high, like 636 maternal mortality rate per 100,000 live births. As well, due to the low literacy of the women in the country and access of women to the contraceptive services. So we have as well the highest fertility rate, which is 5.3 children per woman. It's as well very high. On the other hand, also we have as well the highest under 5 mortality in the especially in this region, Asia, and as well in this region, South Asian region, which is 55 in 1,000 live births, and also infant mortality is 45 per 1,000 live births. Due to the limited access of women and girls to the ANC and PEC services or SRHR services, as well the women who received ANC services, the percentage is very less. Like if we see that 4 visits are recommended by WHO, but in Afghanistan only 18% of the women received 4 visits recommended by WHO. And other women, some they have received 1 or 2 visits, but generally it's 59% in the on the other hand, as well, with the limited access to the hospital services, only 48% of deliveries on the country level happened in the hospital. The remaining deliveries happened at homes. When we compare the urban and rural areas, 59% of home deliveries happened in rural areas, in villages. In urban areas, 23% of deliveries happened at homes. Also, economically, if we compare the two, the economic condition of the people, 77% of poor household delivered at home, a woman from the 77% of the poor household. On the other hand, another big problem in the country is that the marriage of the girls in the early age, which due to the DHS survey, the data we have received, 17% of women marry before age of 18. This is another big problem. And regarding the violence, especially violence which happened after the marriage, 56% of married women age 15 up to 59 experience violence in their families. But unfortunately, 61% of them didn't ask any help, any support. This is another big problem. Access to contraceptive services are very low. 23% of women use one method. It's total, like modern contraceptive plus cultural methods, or maybe we can say methods which are introduced by families. Totally it's 23%, but when we come to the modern contraceptive, it's 17%. So fortunately, with the support of the IPPF and other colleagues, so the project has been designed. This project, it has some positive points. First, it's digitalized. It's for the first time it has been started in Afghanistan. It's unique, like especially for the SRHR services. We didn't have any kind of this kind of innovation in the past in the country. For the first time, it has been happened in the country. Through this project that has been designed, so 10 provinces has been proposed to be selected for providing these services. From each province, 15 midwives have been proposed to work in each province. Totally, they become 150 community outreach midwife. One thing, with just for your information, like also AFGA has this made this initiative that to provide SRH services to community outreach midwife. Community outreach midwife are selected from their own villages. And they are providing SRHR services through in their own area, like where they are living, where they are. So there is no need to bring midwives from other areas or from urban areas to the villages. Fortunately, also it was proposed that each community outreach midwife would be given a tablet and also internet connection. This was the project design. And as well, it was designed that low dose high frequency simulation based training to be provided to the midwives. This was also, later we will talk about achievement on this topic, that how it has been managed. Another good thing was that also it was proposed that a dashboard will be designed and also developed for the follow-up of these activities in the field. Two applications which are Care Mother and SRHR applications are designed and they would be installed in tablets, and also those two applications will be translated to the local languages. All these things happened for the strengthening of the data management system. Like when we are collecting the data, so the data will be entered directly to the system, and also we can follow those data in the services of the midwives through dashboards. You can follow. A call center, which is established, would be established with the support of 5 gynecologists. And the plan was that the gynecologists will provide technical support to the community outreach midwife. And as well, they will provide online consultation to the targeted population where this project has been implemented. Another good point that we have proposed, and it happened, a referral system was established for the referral of complicated cases. With the Ministry of Public Health, and as well, we have 2 packages which is implemented by Ministry of Public Health in the contracted NGO that we call it BPHS, a basic package of health services, and as well essential package of hospital services. We have, it was planned to create the referral system. And as well, to each midwife will be provided in antenatal kits. We have the list of the equipment which are provided to the midwife. It includes like a fetal Doppler, hemoglobinometer, glucometer, digital thermometer, stethoscope, and sphygmometer, and also the rest. Achievement. During this time we have achieved, and also it was we had good achievement. The midwives, the 115 midwives which were recruited, they were trained on Care in Mother SRHR, in SRHR application. These 2 applications are fortunately designed with the support of SARO, and they were installed in the tablets which were given to the midwife. So the community midwife were trained on these 2 applications. And another thing that happened, comprehensive integrated package of SRHR services and also minimal initial service package training has been given to the midwife. These midwife received this training virtually with the support of SARO and the 2 companies which they were supporting us, later Zhao company, and as well Fernandez Health and Research Foundation. The baseline survey, also a baseline survey has been conducted. Based on this survey, it was we have designed that 45,000 families or household should be surveyed and recorded for the service provision. Fortunately, we have surveyed 45,508 households, and they are recorded in the system. In addition, antenatal kits established in communities were purchased and supplied to the community outreach midwives. Care Mother and SRHR application are developed, as mentioned before, and as well translated to local languages, Pashto and Dari. Now the midwives, they can use it in their own languages, these 2 applications. Fortunately, like as this project has been designed, The screening of pregnant women for complication has been started at their doorstep. Like these midwives are traveling in their villages, in their areas. They are going to doorstep of each client. They are providing SRHR and as well care mother services, which is in care mother services, in CPNC services are included, and as well deliveries. Furthermore, also the call center has been established and functionalized in head office. The call center is providing daily basis support to the midwife, like they are providing technical support. As well, they are providing consultations to the families who are living in the targeted areas. This is another good achievement. And lastly, as well, a refresher training has been conducted for the supervisors of the midwives. Like on each province, we have one. In some, we have 2 supervisors that they are following midwives activity on the provincial level. These trainings are a refresher training. On obstetric care has been provided. This training will be conducted furthermore in the provinces through those supervisors, trained supervisors, and as well will be supported by the gynecologist team from head office. So these are just.
If we can probably close it in 3 to 5 minutes time, so that we allow sufficient time for the questions.
Yeah, of course, I will finish. And so these are just a brief data that has been we provided. The services have been provided up to November 22nd. So we have, yeah, these are the brief. During this project as well, we have faced with some challenges, like the challenges brought or slow down our activities. First thing was, as I mentioned in the beginning, the high insecurity and political turbulences. These caused also at the end, the regime has been changed, and also now we have a new political system. These changes slow down our service provision, and as well in the first part, the training of the midwives. Another problem that we have faced, like especially in the rural in remote areas, the community outreach midwife, they had low knowledge of using technology. Fortunately, this issue has solved. Now they can use it because they have received some trainings, but in the beginning they had some problem. Another problem, for time being, we have that the scattered population in some areas, especially in the central highlands, like Bamiyan province. The people are located scatterly, and the midwife, when they are visiting them, so it takes times. Baseline survey took longer time than expected. Also, it slow down the service provision. As well, we had some issues, technical issues in using the application, but now it has been resolved. In remote area, we have also problem of interconnectivity, low bandwidth, and synchronization of the data due to the low bandwidth. And as well, winter is coming, and it has been started in some, especially in central highlands, which caused road closure, and as well air condition, which when they are snowing, so it also bring some access problem of the midwives. Way forward, what we will do, hopefully with the successful implementation of this project, we want to replicate and expand this project to other provinces. As well, we are copying the same technology to our other projects. Already we have started for Stream 3 project. And as well, we are sharing the same experience with the other NGOs, other partners. So they want some of these partners organization in the country will also copy this, and they will implement the same technology in their service provision. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Gopi.
Yeah,
This
thank
was
you.
all
Thank you so
nice.
much, Dr. Azmal. It is such a fascinating project. I'm also kind of very happy to be part of this particular project. Just take another 30 seconds to dwell a bit of light on this project. When we have conceptualized in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic, when the entire systems were shut down, we had planned it as a sort of perfect blend of outreach activity with the technology. So these are the two solutions which were working. One is the outreach related service delivery. Another one is service delivery through technology. So this particular program was a near perfect blend of these two successful interventions which were working out at that time. Though we had a major jolt due to the political instability in the country, we are happy to kind of announce that this has withstood that particular disruption, and then it is on track again. So it is so heartening to see 150 trained midwives who are motivated, who are reaching out to the very vulnerable sections of the society and delivering top quality SRHR services. More precisely, the maternal health services, with very special focus on preventing maternal deaths from postpartum hemorrhage and preeclampsia and eclampsia. So very unique experience, and Dr. Azmal, kind of the entire federation will be looking forward kind of for the project outcomes and to learn from APGA's experience. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Gopi, for all the support we have received from SARO team and as well IPPF.
Yeah. We really appreciate the courage of APGA team. It really kind of needs a lot of courage to take this initiative forward in this situation. Anybody has any questions on APGA intervention? So anybody from the panel or from the attendees? So attendees can post their questions in the chat box. Okay, if there are no questions, so Dr. Azmal, I would like to inquire, like, how is now the things are panning out in the country? How is the relationship of APGA with the new government? And also would like to understand, we heard there is a massive disruption in the health system, and these midwives are going to play a much more broader role than envisaged in the project. So if you can throw some light on that.
Thank you, Dr. Gopi. Yeah, as you mentioned, the two packages which were implemented by Ministry of Public Health, BPHS and EPHS, they were funded in the past by the World Bank. Unfortunately, due to this turnover in the political system, so World Bank stopped supporting and funding of these two packages, due to which now access of people to the health services are limited, especially in the health facilities, commodities, medication are access like for time being, they are facing with the shortage and also the stock out. This is one issue. On the other hand, these things increase the burden of the work, especially on SRHR, on NGOs who are working in SRHR or providing SRHR services. For time being, the burden of the work of our midwives have increased, and now we are providing a bit more services than we have been expected, especially in our health facilities, fixed centers. We are running. The percentage of the clients have been increased extremely, and now we are doing a bit more. Hopefully that all these things will be resolved very soon with the provision of fund to the Ministry of Public Health. We are working closely with the Ministry of Public Health. Also, still we are going to the meetings which are happening in Ministry of Public Health. So we have active participation in all the meetings, and as well we are still we didn't face any challenge from the Ministry of Public Health side and also from the new government. Hopefully it will go and improve for more.
So there's an appreciation from Dr. Moushami that it is a very great intervention, and she would like to understand what are the plans for sustainability. If you can just quickly throw light on it for 30 seconds, then we can close the session.
Yeah, thank you. As well, our CEO also provide an answer. So we are trying and also to secure funding for to continue the services, and also fortunately through the fund we are receiving from Core Fund, we are included some of these community outreach midwife in those Core Fund, and it's going on. Hopefully we will. We are trying and we are doing our best to secure fund for this program, and especially hopefully we will have your support in this area as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Ajmal. So one way of looking at is we have now a trained army of midwives who are also educators, and we have the mannequins for all the simulation-based training. So probably if we can try to provide these services to other organizations and try to generate some sort of local income, that also can be an option. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think we have come to an end of fantastic session of learning. Very quite diverse initiatives from all the MAs, offering innovative solutions for the existing problems, primarily by adopting suitable digital and technological interventions. It was quite a great learning experience to know all these interventions. With best wishes from all the participants, I would like to close the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks from all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.